Hi, my name is Steve Stefanki. I've developed this tape on movement after studying dance, the martial arts, and other great movement sports. What I'd like to show you here is that everyone is out there trying to improve. They're doing exercises for speed, strength, and stamina. But these same people often have injuries and often lose stamina and strength while they're playing after long periods. What I'd like to show you here, though, is that they're moving improperly, and that you, if you learn how to move properly, will have maximum strength, maximum speed, and great range of flexibility. I've taught these principles to people 50, 60, and 70 years of age, as well as to Olympic tennis players and Junior Davis Cup players for the United States. I hope you'll enjoy this tape, so please, move out an area around your television and get ready to experience tennis movement like you've never experienced it before. Tennis is a game of motion. It's a game of energy. On this last point I played, I'm trying to feel my gaining of energy. I'm not trying to deplete my energy. In other words, if I'm in harmony playing, if my movement is smooth, calm, relaxed, if I'm in control, I'm actually gaining energy. Again, tennis is motion. We're trying to find where our energy is coming from in playing tennis. The hardest part in tennis, I feel, is that it's very hard to try to explain the game of tennis in terms of words because we're not dealing solely with the physical thing of how to do something. Tennis is very psychophysical. In other words, we're trying to find a center, a harmony, a balance, a calmness between the three states, which would be our emotional state, our mental state, and our physical state. The physical movements you showed me here was actually a product of my thought, or actually not my thought, my feels. My emotional feel, my mental feel. In this tape, we're going to show you some physical laws. We're going to show you some emotional laws, or possibly even some mental laws of how you can play the game perfectly centered, perfectly calm, perfectly balanced. If you've noticed some of the top players in the past, the champion players of old or even of nowadays, you'll find that they don't make the movements in their sport, their art, work. It's just the opposite approach. There is no try. They're working to try to make this so effortless, so harmonious, that there is no work in the involvement. There's no trying. Now that's kind of contradictory to certain methods of thought you think you have to work. But let me give you an example of some of the great artists in their sports or in their arts. Fred Astaire would apply himself vigorously, put a lot of efficient time in, a lot of exercising, trying to get certain moves that he would move around perfectly in control. So he was playing with gravity. He's not using energy to try to fight the moves of dancing. You can look at some of the great baseball players, maybe Steve Garvey or Ted Williams. They're almost obnoxious because they make their sport so effortless, so controlled, that they look like they're not trying. And that's the element of the champion. If you watch Steve Garvey bat, he's standing still, his posture's smooth, he's calm, and the energy is working for him. We're going to try to show you where that energy is coming from. That's what we mean by a centered player. I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the inherent qualities of some of the champion tennis players. These inherent qualities, again, comprise the centering aspect that we've talked about earlier. If you watch some of the players play, a lot of people kind of confuse when they watch them the differentiation between style and natural laws or fundamentals. If I were to demonstrate some of the top players playing, let's take Jimmy Connors. He runs over and he hits, and then he's back. He's over and he hits. Or if I were to demonstrate John McEnroe, hit, hit, hit. Or if I was to demonstrate Chrissy Everett, over and out, over and out. If I was to demonstrate Ivan Lendl's forehand. There's an inherent quality here. There's a quality that is common to nature, that they're not fighting nature. One of those qualities would be non-resistance. How do we get non-resistance, or what is non-resistance? Non-resistance is playing with gravity. You don't see a tree standing like this, because as gravity is pounding down on it, it would eventually slope to the ground and fall. But it resists gravity because it's in a straight line. It is very straight, it's very tall. It doesn't resist gravity. Energy flows in lines. It's a flow of energy that we're looking for. Remember, we're not trying to take away our energy, we're trying to find it, we're trying to harness it, to keep it, to live by it, to play with it. In this way, we can last the test of time. Kenny Roosevelt, a great Australian, his best tennis was when he was in his 30s. I think we can teach people to have their best tennis at their later ages because they have more time to sense and feel their harmony and awareness and postures and balance. That's what this tape is all about. We're trying to show you how we can give you some inherent qualities of the champions, work it into the aerobics so you can practice it daily, because repetition is how it's going to be mastered, and then you apply it to your tennis daily, and I think you're going to get some really good success. Let's go back to these inherent qualities again. Let's start off with non-resistance. So when you're a player, you watch those inherent qualities of the players like Everett and McEnroe, and you did not see any resistance. In other words, you didn't see McEnroe come up, and when he saw a low volley, you didn't see him resist or get his alignment out of line. He kept his body up. You didn't see Everett go for a backhand and then lead out with her head. She had herself centered. Her weight is centered. Centering, I mean she's not resisting gravity. She's not fighting the wind. She's not fighting the air. Okay, that comes from some inherent qualities of the head. The head rests on the shoulder. The shoulders are relatively straight and square. Okay? This loose posture we're looking for is pretty much trying to find that straight line. If someone walked around like this, obviously he's not in a straight line. This would be more beneficial. This would be easier to walk. You would not feel, to change that feeling of walking with a stoop to here might take some discipline, might take some changes. But if you're constantly aware, where is my posture? Am I fighting gravity or am I playing with gravity? Now I have the look of refinement. That's the whole idea of a finishing school. So, another law that the great players emulate, because you saw their styles were different. You saw Bjorn Borg playing like this, massive topspin. But you also saw his head and his shoulders square. You saw John McEnroe playing very flat, coming and playing volleys. But you never saw his head tilt to a side. To understand this, just try walking with your head in a bad position. If you played a volley like this, try walking around like this for a while. All of a sudden you'll feel gravity play with you. It's not very comfortable. But if I can play with my alignment perfect, then there is no energy being used. I'm in perfect harmony. That's the theory of some of the laws of nature. Another law of nature is accommodation. We can accommodate all these changes slowly. You don't have to do it overnight. It's slowly done. If you watch a rock smooth out because water goes over it, over the test of time, over, let's say, several weeks, that stone will eventually flatten out. It's not done right away. Or if you watch a great artist chisel something, he doesn't all of a sudden take a big hit at the rock because he would splinter it. So the same with you. You're going to constantly do these aerobic exercises many times, repetition, slowly. And as the time goes on, you're slowly going to be accommodated. All these things, all these natural laws will slowly sink into your tennis game. It's a law of nature, and it works. Tennis is a game of motion, and it's movement. To describe this movement and this motion, it's very hard just to do it in physical terms or in words. Remember, tennis is that psychophysical combination, we'll call it. There's this harmony between the mental, the physical, and the emotional. And this harmony, or this togetherness of all three units working together to produce perfect movement, perfect motion, is difficult at times to get to because we're not in tune together with this psychophysical reality. And that reality, or that link between those two areas, or the emotional and mental, and then the physical, is actually the breath. To explain that, let's look at our emotions a little bit. If I'm angry, an angry person would look as such. Doggone it, why am I doing this? Well, as you notice, my breath actually changed. I wasn't taking any air in at all. I was expelling everything. So my breath is not consistent. It's not in harmony. It's actually fluctuated. If I'm fearful, I've taken everything in, but I've let nothing out. So my breath again has changed. Those are emotions that we've learned through societies, through our life. We've learned those things. I don't know if they are natural or unnatural. All I know is it does naturally, or it does obviously change our breathing. And let me show you how it affects the physical side, or the motion side. If I'm playing tennis and I go, oh, I'm afraid to miss this volley. Obviously, it's affected my physical side. My shoulders are tilted. My breath is up. My breath's up in here, and I haven't taken anything in. Whereas if I was calm and breathing naturally, I would have stayed like that. My shoulders are square. I'm centered. My breathing actually hasn't changed. Let's take anger. Let's say I'm trying to go about and I'm going to beat this guy so bad. I'm going to take this guy. I'm going to make sure I win this point. I'm expelling everything. I haven't taken any deep breaths. It's not continuous. It's not in harmony again. Notice what it did to my posture. It gnarled me. It tensed me. Now I'm tense. Anger will do that sometimes to people when they're playing tennis, if they have a thought rather than the feel of what they're supposed to be doing, which is movement in harmony with a tennis ball. Let me show you how the breath then, if we know how to practice it, use it, can be the link between the mental and emotional and the physical. So our movement and emotion is in harmony. One exercise I like to do is I kind of check my breath to learn awareness. To learn, we have to be aware of what we're doing, and that's all this tape is about. We're learning awareness. Awareness of our posture. Awareness of our emotions. Awareness of our mental state and how that's going to affect our play. Then you'll be a disciplined player, a controlled player, and you'll be able to control your opponent. Because he has nothing to rely on of you beating yourself. One method I use is I learn to breathe from the center. The center is your stomach. Most people, when they're out of balance emotionally or mentally or physically, they breathe very high and rapid breaths. And so what happens, it creates imperfections or imbalances while you're playing. I like to do this method where I would take a 6-count or a 4-count breath inward and letting my stomach fill first. I would put my hands actually on my stomach so I could feel it. I try to keep my back very straight and my head above my shoulders. I don't want to be too forward. I don't want to be slouching back. I don't want to be gnarled. I want to be straight and relaxed. I want to feel my breath go into my stomach. I want it to hold for as many counts as I took in and then let it expel. I'll go through it very quickly, and you can see the method that I use. As I do it, I'm trying to feel my awareness. I'm trying to feel how slow I can get myself to metabolize, how slow I can feel. Rather than trying to do something quickly, I'm trying to do something slow. I like to close my eyes so I have maximum feel. I don't think anyone has ever gone through kissing with their eyes open because you can't get nearly as much feel. The breath is taken in on a 4-count, remember. So it'd be inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Again, remember to make the breathing very smooth and harmonious, very deep going to your stomach and going then upward to your diaphragm.